This Bedtime Stories with Duck and Goose. Hello to everyone, where I read stories and they schlep them up on the screen so you guys can follow along. Cloud Country. It's beautiful. Gale floated on a warm breeze, watching the land below. Far off, a deer trotted across a meadow. Ducklings scrambled after their mother. Gale sighed, wishing she could look at the world like this forever. Earth gazing again? Asked her mother. Gale nodded. She knew she should have been practicing her cloud shapes. Today was Formation School graduation day, when all the young cloudlets like Gale would show the guardians what cloud shapes they could make. Already, other cloudlets and their families were floating by. Gale couldn't help noticing how well they drifted and billowed. Though she had been practicing all year, she couldn't make even one real cloud shape. She closed her eyes tightly and tried again. She thought dark, stormy thoughts. "Does this look like a cumulonimbus cloud?" she asked her little brother Nimba. "Elephant cloud," he cried. Gale thought puffy, fluffy, fat-cheeked thoughts, hoping to create a cumulus cloud. "Lamb cloud," Nimba clapped his hands. "Don't worry," Mama said. "I know you can do it, Gale." She hoped Mama was right. It would be wonderful to graduate from Formation School, forming a cloud shape she could be proud of. But Gale was out of time to practice. The other cloudlets in Gale's class were moving on to the stage. The guardians called each student forward, one by one. Surrey's cloud stretched into the wispy stratus. Strato's cloud rose into the wide atlocumulus and disappeared. A-wide. Bluster's cloud whirled around and around. Everyone knew he wanted to make funnel clouds when he grew up. Soon it was Gale's turn. "Formation?" asked the head guardian. "Cumulus cloud," she mumbled. Her stomach felt full of tiny slivers of lightning, but Gale took a deep breath and thought plump, floaty cumulus thoughts. "Tugboat?" guessed the head guardian. Quickly, Gale tried again. She thought fierce, flashing cumulonimbus thoughts. "Dog?" another guardian guessed. They were looking at each other now, and Gale could hear everyone else murmuring. "Would you like to try once more?" the head guardian asked. She couldn't help it. She began to rain. Raindrops pitter-pattered down her cheeks. She had spent too much time looking at the land below after all. The head guardian tried again. "No other formations?" he asked. "No," Gale whispered. "Just things like mountains and bears and frogs." The crowd gasped. "Only land below shapes?" asked the oldest guardian. Gale nodded. She could see Mama's worried face. The guardians bent their heads to talk. Finally, the oldest guardian knelt beside her. "We are so glad to finally find you." His voice was gentle. "We've been waiting for another daydream cloud for a long time." Daydream cloud? Gale had never heard of that. "You will make fish and boats, waterfalls and crows," said the head guardian. "You'll make castles in the air," said another. Gale was confused. "I'd make my own shapes?" she asked. The oldest guardian laughed. "That's what daydream clouds do. They make shapes from the land below, shapes the world can dream on." "Congratulations, class," the head guardian announced. You have all graduated from formation school." Gale could hardly believe it. She would be allowed to earth gaze all day. She could create shapes of the many things she loved: the swaying trees, the lumbering bears, the great fish. Gale twirled so fast she nearly made a funnel cloud. Gale's mother hugged her. "I'm so proud of you." Nimba reached for her hand. "Gale happy?" Gale nodded, and she thought, happy, puffy thoughts. Not because she was trying to make a cumulus cloud, but because she believed that happy, puffy thoughts would make the best shapes for the land below to dream on. The end. How to catch a snowman. When the moon is full on a snowy night, something magical happens if the time is right. It's not an old silk hat that brings me to life, but the enchanted snow star shining down at midnight. I don't thumpity thump or give warm hugs. That's for my friends to do. These clever kids will try to trap me, but who will catch me? You? Oh no. That first trap was a good attempt. Your running made me smile. Your net of scarves might have done the trick, but it's left you all in a pile. Now this trap is an improvement, and my escape is no guarantee. But I'll skate fast, and with a spin, you're covered in snow like me. A snowman who loves summer? I've heard this before. What you didn't know is I can fly. Stand back and watch me soar. Chasing me down the hillside, you're really good at skiing. But when I bounce into a snowball, I'm really good at fleeing. Oops. I have to admit, that trap you made was a clever use of snow. But I can see that it's a trick, and it's time for me to go. A snowman shop, that's quite a treat, made special just for me. Perhaps I'll grab a hat or a scarf, or maybe 2 or 3. You built me with a carrot nose. I think that's kind of cute, but cuter still is trying to catch me with vegetables and fruit. This winter wonderland is great, so bright and full of fun. But snow globes can't hold me for long. Too bad. I've got to run. Woohoo! Your sled ride sure is fun. I love gliding down this slide. But I think I'll skip the trampoline. That ends this jolly ride. Now that was one fantastic trap, and very well thought through. Nice try, well done, magnificent job, but I'll still escape from you. Once I've escaped your final trap, you get called in for dinner. As the sun sets, it seems to me that I am the contest winner. You tried so hard to catch me. I'm glad I'm free, it's true. But perhaps before I'm on my way, I can leave a gift for you. A giant snowman sculpture thing. All done. Alright, this one is called Goodnight Lagoon. In the pineapple room, there was a sponge in pajamas, and hero balloons, and a picture of an octopus with a face like a prune. And there were 3 mattresses to make 1 bed, and a high dive board, and a clock foghorn, and a long jellyfishing net, and a meowing snail for a pet. And a squirrel that hollers, and a bus with dollars, and Plankton, the nighttime crawler. Good night, room. Good night, lagoon. Good night, octopus with a face like a prune. Good night, net and the hero balloons. Good night, diving board. Good night, foghorn. Good night, fishes of the deep. And good night, Patrick, who's already asleep. Good night, pirate picture. And good night, Krabby Patty mixture. Good night, boat with a sail. Good night, meowing snail. Good night, squirrel that hollers. Good night, boss with dollars. Good night, friends. Good night, nighttime crawler. And good night, Patrick, who's still asleep. Good night, Bubbles. Good night, plants. Good night, SpongeBob SquarePants. Pooh's Secret Garden. One sunny spring morning, Winnie the Pooh woke up with a rumbly in his tumbly. "Oh, bother," he said, "I seem to be all out of honey. Now what is a hungry bear to do?" Think, think, think. Pooh was a bear of very little brain, but with his tummy's help, he soon came up with an idea. He wandered through the 100-acre wood to a tidy house beside a tidy garden. Then he knocked on the tidy door, and Rabbit answered. He was just about to do some gardening. "Gardening looks like very hard work, Rabbit," Pooh said after a while. "Are you sure it's not time to stop for a small smackerel of honey?" "Quite sure, Pooh," Rabbit replied. "Would you mind handing me the watering can?" "Not at all, Rabbit," said Pooh. When he picked up the watering can, several buzzing bees flew out from underneath. "There are bees in your garden, Rabbit," Pooh exclaimed. "It wouldn't be so much of a garden without them," Rabbit said. "Plants need bees' help to turn their flowers into vegetables." "I wouldn't know much about that," Pooh said. "All I know is that where there are bees, there's sure to be honey," Pooh continued. He followed one of the bees, hoping to find some honey. All he found was the bee sipping nectar from a flower. "Yes," Rabbit said, "bees need flowers to make honey." "They do?" Pooh squinted at the bees. "Of course they do. It's no secret, Pooh." "I see," Pooh said. "If you'll excuse me, Rabbit, I have some very important thinking to do." Think, think, think. He hurried out of Rabbit's garden and through the wood. Pooh was thinking so hard that he nearly walked straight into a cloud of dust. He waved his arms to clear the air and found Piglet. He was doing some spring cleaning. looking thoughtful today, Pooh, Piglet said. I've just learned that bees need gardens to make honey, Pooh leaned closer. And I heard it was a secret. So you're going to plant a secret garden? Piglet whispered. Pooh nodded. Shall we search for a secret spot to plant it? The two friends began searching for spots, but instead, they found Stripes. What are you two explorating? Tigger asked. Pooh told Tigger about his secret garden. All we need is the perfect spot, he finished. Well, you found it, Tigger exclaimed. He bounced up. It's just right, Pooh said. Now I suppose I'd better, that is, it must be time to... Oh, bother. He scratched his head. What exactly is it that I'm supposed to do now? Piglet and Tigger had no more idea than Pooh did. So all three of them went in search of someone who was likely to know all there was to know about secret gardens and most everything else, too. The friends went to see Owl. Do you know how to go about planting a secret garden, Owl? Pooh asked hopefully. Certainly, Owl said. My great aunt Eunice used to mention such matters quite frequently. In any case, I'm sure I have something here that will tell us exactly what to do. He led the way to his bookshelf and pulled out a large volume. Is that a book about secret gardens? Piglet asked. Precisely, Owl said. Let's have a look, shall we? Of course, this is a cookbook, not a book about gardening, said Owl with a ruffle of his feathers. What we need are seeds. Let's go borrow some from old Longears, Tigger said. They all went to Rabbit's house. What do you need with seeds? Rabbit asked when he heard what they wanted. It's a secret, Pooh said. I suppose we could tell you if... Here, Rabbit said. Just take the seeds. The friends returned to the site of Pooh's garden. Owl supervised while the others got started. Pooh didn't know much about planting seeds, but following Owl's instructions, he dug up a patch of dirt and dropped several seeds into the hole. Pooh and his friends were still planting seeds when Kanga happened by. Oh my, she said. You all seem to be working very hard. Let me bring you something to drink. She soon returned with a pitcher of lemonade. Thank you, Mrs. Kanga, Piglet said politely. The lemonade is delicious. It sure is, Tigger agreed. But what we really need is someone to help us with all this digification. Kanga smiled. Roo and I might be able to help with that too, she said. With help from Piglet, Tigger, Owl, Kanga, and Roo, Pooh soon had his secret garden planted. Now we need to wait for the plants to grow, Owl said. Pooh smiled. Then I'll have all the honey I can eat. He patted his tummy to tell it to be patient, and then they waited, and waited, and waited some more. Weeks passed. The plants grew like weeds, and bees started buzzing around the flowers, but there was no sign of honey anywhere. Where could the honey be? Pooh wondered aloud. He lifted a leaf, searching for any sign of tasty golden honey, but found a tomato instead. It wasn't honey, but it still looked delicious. Your secret garden was a delicious idea, Pooh, Piglet said. Yes, it was, Pooh sighed. It would be even tastier if it would just grow some honey. Just then, Roo arrived with Rabbit. I told Rabbit about your garden, he said. Pooh nodded. That's fine, since Rabbit is the one who told me about the secret, and that's the secret that makes gardens grow honey. If only I knew the secret of where bees hide it, Pooh added. Rabbit looked confused. There's no secret to that. All you have to do is follow the bees to their hive. Look, there goes a bee now, Roo exclaimed. They watched the bee until it flew into a stump. Pooh pulled back some of the loose bark and found honey. It seems the bees in Pooh's secret garden had a secret of their own. After that, the honey wasn't a secret anymore, and neither was the garden. Pooh's friends stayed busy picking tasty vegetables. The bees stayed buzzy, sipping nectar from the flowers, and Pooh stayed happy and rather sticky, collecting all the honey he could eat. The end. Hello, little dreamer. Hello, little dreamer. What's your favorite thing to do? Do you like to sing songs or watch animals at the zoo? Do you like to count numbers? I like to count numbers. Do you like to count numbers or gaze at the stars in the sky? You may know what you like, but do you really know why? Look, there's a puppy. Well, the answer is simple. It began long ago. Before you were born, your dreams started to grow. God planted these dreams way deep in your heart, way deep down in your heart. Words. Some big and some little, right from the start. And he had a good reason to do this, you see. It's so you could become all that you're meant to be. And the wonderful thing we know about dreams is that a dream isn't always exactly what it seems. One dream may come true before you even know it, while one might take longer, because God has to grow it. Think of an acorn. It starts out so small until many years later, it's a tree, strong and tall. Well, that's just like you when you were a baby. You grow more each day until someday, just maybe, wow, there you are. You're taller than your dad. You didn't feel it happen, but now you're so glad. Or your mom. And it doesn't make you happy when you try something new and it becomes that one thing that you just love to do. I think I missed something. That's because a dream that God... Oh, to move my mic. There we go. That's because a dream that God put deep inside. Oh, it's a dream. Good night. That's because it's a dream that God put deep inside. Some dreams show up fast, while some seem to hide. And those deep hidden dreams may take years to come true. Like a painting God paints until you become you. This was God's plan. This was what he designed, because right from the start, he had you on his mind. He wanted every child to know his love and his joy, so he planted good dreams in each girl and each boy. All children are different, and all dreams are too. If we were all the same, you wouldn't be you. There we go. So thank the good Lord for the time that he takes to put those sweet dreams in each person he makes. Never let people tell you your dreams can't come true. Just keep doing those things that God wants you to do. Keep believing and trusting him more every day. Give thanks for his blessings and remember to pray. For God hears your prayers, and he's a dreamer too, and he wants every dream he ever gave to become true. When I grow up. I waited so long for the hours to pass, but soon it was noon there in Miss Crump's class. And Thursday at noon, as I'm sure you know well, is the time of the week when we do show and tell. There we go. And this week, the subject so special to me was, when I grow up, what am I going to be? There's something I'd really been thinking about, and I just couldn't wait to let all those thoughts out. So when Miss Krupp said, "Who's ready to share?" you can guess who was there with his hand in the air. I raised both my hands just as high as they'd go, and I bounced up and down, and then, what do you know? Well, Mrs. Krupp picked me, yes, me, to go first. Oh, I was so happy I thought I would burst. I proudly stood up and began my oration concerning my choice for my future vocation. Esteemed friends and colleagues, and dear Mrs. Krupp, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. Why, I'll be the greatest chef you've ever seen. The world will go crazy for my haute cuisine. I'll tantalize taste buds with my rigatoni, sautéed with black truffles and pickled bologna. Surrounded by kumquats and candied pig's feet, topped with shrimp-flavored lollipops. Bon appetit. That doesn't sound very good. My walls will be filled with awards that I've gotten for toast on a stick and my Twinkies au gratin. My kitchen will be the most famous in France, so make reservations 12 years in advance. There's no doubt about it. I'm certain, you see, a world-renowned chef is what I'm gonna be. That's very nice, Billy, said sweet Mrs. Krupp. Who wants to be next? Maybe Susie or Fred? I said, hold the phone now. I haven't departed. Hang on to your seats, 'cause I'm just getting started. See, maybe instead I could be a snail trainer. Man, that would be awesome. Why, that's a no-brainer. I'll teach all my snails to do really neat tricks. They'll play dead, roll over, and even fetch sticks. Of course, all the sticks will come back 2 years later. But working with snails, I mean, what could be greater? They'll do any stunt that I like. Holy moly! I'll train them to pedal a bike really slowly. Then ooze, through a huge ring of fire and crawl at a snail's pace across the high wire. Then finish by writing my name with their trails. That's right, I'll be Billy, the master of snails. Or else, maybe I'll be the lathe operator who makes the hydraulic torque wrench calibrator, which fine-tunes the wrench that's specifically made to retighten the bolts on the lateral blade that's directly beneath the main radial sockets inside cooling systems on X-14 rockets. And since this profession's as cool as can be, well, who would be better to do it than me? Say, here's an idea, perhaps just for laughs. I might make my living by milking giraffes. It's oh so cliche to get milk from a cow, and I bet all those cows need a break anyhow. Imagine me milking way up in the air. I'll use a tall ladder instead of a chair. Just like up here. What? Milking giraffes? Mrs. Krupp said. Oh, please. I countered. How else could we make giraffe cheese? Don't interrupt me. I'm really not through yet. There's still lots of stuff that I'm planning to do yet. 'Cause maybe I'll be a gorilla masseuse. Or an artist who sculpts out of chocolate mousse. Or a rodeo clown, or a movie director, or maybe professional pickle inspector. or big sumo wrestler, or hedge fund investor, or smelly pit sniffing deodorant tester. You. Hey, look, it's me. Or I'll be expert on nuclear fission, or else a foot model, or a friendly mortician, or a waiter, or skater, or master debater, or dinosaur dusting museum curator, or TV repairman, or sidewalk sign waver, or part-time assistant tarantula shaver. That sounds intense. And that's about when Mrs. Krupp said, "Now, Billy, please make up your mind. This is getting quite silly." Oops, my music stopped. There we go. Strange. "Which one of those things are you going to choose?" I shuffled around. I looked at my shoes. And finally I said, "My great-grandfather Bob's been a whole lot of things. Had a whole bunch of jobs. A butcher, a barber, a bellman, a bouncer, a telephone psychic, and a bingo announcer. You know what? He just turned 103, and he's still not quite sure what he wants to be. See, I'm only 8 now, so frankly, I'm hoping you'll cut me some slack if I leave my options open. Let's just wait and find out what my future brings. Hey, I might have time to do all of those things." And then the bell rang and we all went to lunch. And as I was sipping my pineapple punch, I pondered professions that I'd like to enter, like brave firefighter or crazy inventor. Or maybe, just maybe now, when I grow up, I can be a great teacher, like dear Mrs. Krupp. The end. I am enough. Like the sun, I'm here to shine. Like the voice, I'm here to sing. Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high over everything. Like the trees, I'm here to grow. Like the mountains, here to stand. Like time, I'm here to be everything I can. Like the champ, I'm here to fight. Like the heart, I'm here to love. Like a ladder, here to climb, and like the air, to rise above. Like the wind, I'm here to push. Like a rope, I'm here to pull. Like the rain, I'm here to pour and drip and fall until I'm full. Like the moon, I'm here to dream. Like the student, here to learn. Like the water, here to swell. And like the fire, here to burn. Like the winner, I'm here to win. But if I don't, get up again. I know that means I may sometimes cry, but even then, I'm here to try. I'm not meant to be like you, you're not meant to be like me. Sometimes we get along, and sometimes we disagree. I know that we don't look the same, our skin, our hair, our eyes, our frame. But that does not dictate our worth. We both have places here on earth. And in the end, we are right here to live a life of love, not fear. To help each other when it's tough, to say together, I am enough. Yay. That was fun. All right. Harold and the Purple Crayon. One evening, After thinking it over some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. But there wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. He needed something to walk on as well. Oop, there it goes. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on a long, straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across the field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut, excuse me, there we go. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree, or a Cheerio tree, or an orange tree, or a plum tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed up. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly, he realized what was happening, but by then, Harold was over his head in the ocean. Oh dear. He came up, thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie. But there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon, big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. Harold decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. And then suddenly, Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in and drew up the covers. And the purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. The end. Olaf's night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Stockings were hung by the chimney. But why? Had they gotten too wet? Were they left there to dry? Elsa was sleeping all snug in her bed, while glittering northern lights danced overhead. Anna snored softly, while I counted sheep, settling myself for a cozy night's sleep. When out on the fjord there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I tumbled and rolled. I pushed out the shutter, and brr! It was cold. A full moon was out, and it lit up the night, while snow flurries made the world sparkling and white. Then, grabbing an icicle, what did I spy? 8 little Svens flying high in the sky. The Svens pulled a sleigh. There was someone inside. Could Sven and his Kristoff be out for a ride? Straight toward the castle the flying sled came, while the man, was it Kristoff? Called out some strange names. Now Dancer, now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the turret and over the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. He sounded so funny. Who was this big guy? What was a turret? And how could Svens fly? And then, with a ringing, I heard on the roof the thumping and bumping of each little hoof. Then, from behind me, there came a strange sound, and the whole chimney shook as 2 feet hit the ground. His boots were all black, his pants were all red, but where was the rest of him? Where was his head? Then out of the fireplace the man's face appeared. He had kind, crinkly eyes and a fluffy white beard. Kristoff he wasn't. This man smelled too nice, like snowballs and cookies and Christmassy spice. He placed a large bag filled with gifts on the floor. Was a sale going on at Old Oaken's big store? He brushed off his clothes and then began to unpack, pausing for Kroonkakke, left out as a snack. This stranger had presents for Anna and Sven, for Kristoff, for Elsa, for all of my friends. I reached for his coat and gave 2 little tugs. I said, "My name is Olaf, and I like warm hugs." He turned with a start and let out such a giggle. I had to laugh too when I saw how he jiggled. He gave me a hug, such a wonderful gift. Then he rose up the chimney, all lively and swift. And I heard him call out as he flew out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." The end. Well, thank you guys all for coming. I'm so glad you could come. I'm glad you enjoyed them. I hope you sleep well. Have good dreams.